Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're taking a look at Linux remote desktop solutions. Specifically, we're going to compare X2Go and ThinLinc. We know a lot of you are in that boat of deciding between those two.
Yeah, and it's a tough choice. I mean, both have their pros and cons.
For sure. So to help make that decision a little bit easier, we're diving into the nitty-gritty of what real users are saying about their experiences with X2Go and ThinLinc.
Yeah, because those real-world experiences can really make or break your decision.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest things that kept coming up with X2Go was the issue of compatibility, especially with some of the newer desktop environments like GNOME.
Right, which is a pretty popular desktop environment. A lot of users prefer GNOME, so that's a significant factor to consider. And it's not just GNOME. Some users reported issues with X2Go and Tiger VNC, which is a system for sharing desktops remotely. One user specifically mentioned that they were surprised by this because Tiger VNC is so widely used. They ran into a wall trying to get them to work together and ended up having to find workarounds, which, as you can imagine, is not ideal.
No, not at all. You want your remote desktop solution to just work seamlessly, right?
Ah.
Especially with something as common as Tiger VNC. You'd think that would be a given.
Exactly. And that seems to be a bit of a sticking point for some X2Go users.
Yeah, and compatibility is so fundamental. It's like the foundation of a house. If it's shaky, the whole thing is compromised.
Such a good analogy. So listeners, if you're considering X2Go and using Tiger VNC is on your radar, that's definitely something to keep in mind. So that's X2Go. What about ThinLinc? Because it seems like they've really prioritized compatibility, which is great news for users.
Yeah, it seems like they've put a lot of effort into making sure it plays nicely with all the major Linux distributions and desktop environments, even the newer ones.
And it's not just about checking boxes. Like, they really seem to understand that for users, it's all about that it just works experience.
For sure. And that came across really strongly in what users had to say. Like, one user who works in education mentioned they support a bunch of researchers who are using SSH and X2Go, but when they switched to ThinLinc, things got way easier.
Oh, interesting. What were they finding easier specifically?
Well, they said that ThinLinc was just a smoother experience overall, especially when it came to setting up student workstations and stuff like that for remote learning.
Makes sense. When you've got a whole classroom of students depending on a reliable remote connection, the last thing you want is for tech issues to get in the way of their learning.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about compatibility either. We noticed a lot of users talking about how much better ThinLinc's performance was compared to X2Go.
Really? Like, noticeably faster and more responsive.
Yeah, one user even said they made the switch from X2Go specifically because of performance problems they were having on Ubuntu Mate.
Interesting. Ubuntu Mate, that's a pretty popular distribution too, so they were having issues even on a well-supported platform like that.
It seems so. And get this, they felt like X2Go's development had basically stalled, while ThinLinc seemed to be getting better all the time.
Wow, so it's like choosing between an old car that kind of gets you there and a brand new model with all the bells and whistles.
Right. And sometimes that reliability and speed make all the difference.
Yeah, because when it comes to remote work or research or anything really, a laggy connection can really throw a wrench in things.
Oh, totally. It's like trying to work on a complex spreadsheet with a 5-second delay.
The worst. And, in our research, we kept seeing the same thing. ThinLinc was consistently praised for delivering that super smooth experience, even in scenarios where X2Go struggled.
It's like one user even said ThinLinc just felt snappier, especially when they were moving large files around.
Oh, really? That's interesting because file transfer speed can be a major pain point with remote desktop solutions.
Totally. And this particular user was blown away by how much faster ThinLinc was compared to X2Go. They actually called ThinLinc a superior solution.
Yeah.
Which, speaks volumes.
It really does, especially coming from someone who's actually used both. It's that real-world validation that makes all the difference.
For sure. Because at the end of the day, you want a solution that just works and doesn't leave you pulling your hair out.
Exactly. So it seems like if you're someone who values a smooth, reliable, and fast remote desktop experience, especially if you're running into those compatibility or performance hiccups with X2Go, ThinLinc might just be the answer.
Definitely worth checking out, I'd say. And remember, the best remote desktop solution is the one that best fits your specific needs and technical setup.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So there you have it, folks. We hope this deep dive into X2Go and ThinLinc has given you some food for thought as you navigate the world of Linux remote desktop solutions. Until next time, happy connecting.